thanks for having me. And your point about moms is well taken, especially since my own is in the audience here to support me. So thank you for that. Moms are amazing. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So huge thanks to Microsoft for hosting us today, to Silicon Valley Forum for having me, and Denise, again, to you for finding me and bringing me here. I'm honored to speak to this room. As you can see, the title of my presentation is Driving Access to Capital for Female Entrepreneurs. And I'm really honored to be here to talk about the critical need and importance of women in the technology industry. The underrepresentation of women in tech just isn't a women's issue anymore. It's not. Diversity matters to the overall health of the tech industry because it drives and accelerates innovation, and research has actually shown that a workforce in which women are full participants and contributors to the economy helps better identify and provide holistic solutions that are benefiting to everyone, not just a select few. And in fact, our last panel was talking about that. Secretary Clinton has said it best. By increasing women's participation in the economy and enhancing their efficiency and productivity, we can have a dramatic impact on our global competitiveness and the growth of our economies. But it's not just about growing our economy. It's a little bit more personal than that. Technology is the greatest equalizer of the 21st century. But without women in tech, there is no equality. So we have to remember that. In order to encourage the full participation of women in tech, we must focus on enabling female founders so that they can accelerate innovation through entrepreneurship. And to do this, the tech industry cannot afford to operate as business as usual. Diversity in funding is critical to driving an inclusive tech industry. There's a direct correlation, and I'm going to read some numbers. So there's a direct correlation between the number of women on boards and higher corporate profits. First of all, number one, companies with more women board directors outperform by 66% in terms of return on invested capital. How many people have ever heard that stat before? Excellent. I'm speaking to an informed audience. That's wonderful. And then 53% in terms of return on equity. Who's heard that before? Great. And they exceed, with women on boards, companies exceed 42% in terms of return on sales. Is that news to anyone? Great. So another study indicates that 1/3 of executives reported increased profits from their investments from employing women in emerging markets. And in fact, I think we had a pretty popular person from Shark Tank say the same. So, so how do we do this, and where am I going with this? Why is it so critical not just to have women be part of the innovation economy, but for them to start companies and to create jobs, and which again goes to our global competitiveness? Clearly, we have a business case for diversity and inclusion. Yet, why is there such talk about the lack of funding for female entrepreneurs? According to the Harvard Business Review, women entrepreneurs only receive 4.2% of venture capital funds. These types of dismal stats, combined with my own experience in developing products, my appointment to the National Women's Business Council, and the work that I've been doing for the last 3 years in helping research how we can get more access to capital for women, brings me to my personal mission and why I'm on this stage to spread the message about helping women start their own businesses and bringing transparency to the process of raising capital. Therefore, the advent and rise of female-focused investment vehicles, specifically for women-led startups, are key to removing barriers and getting more capital into the hands of women, because women are the most undercapitalized group, minority group, that are looking to start businesses. And by putting the access in their hand, we are opening up markets. But don't rule out the social network. Research conducted by the National Women's Business Council and the SBA shows that social networks are vital to healthy development and growth of a woman's entrepreneurial endeavor. Tech startup founders, whether you're male or female, you have to work hard to raise money. There's no doubt. That hustle quality. If you don't have the hustle factor, you're not going to be able to raise money no matter what your social network is. But it is a fact that women have to hustle harder and longer to raise money. So let's talk about what women need to go from thinking about being an entrepreneur to actually becoming one. Here's my short list of the 3 things that I think we need. It was said in the last panel, we need mentors. It's pretty simple. Women can't be what we can't see. right? So I advocate for STEM education. I mentor young girls in underserved communities. And by far, whenever I'm on the panel, I am probably the one to get the most number of questions because girls want to know, what did I study to get into tech? What did I study that I'm able to walk into a room and show you a picture of me with the president? In fact, when I went to Leyva High School, or Leyva junior school in San Jose, I took a picture of me and the president. And the girls were so excited that were there for my panel that they were taking pictures of my picture with the president. Okay, they were really excited. And my message to them was, look, you need to be the ones to have your own picture. In fact, you need to be the ones who are aspiring to be in the Oval Office one day. It is doable. But again, women and girls can't be what they can't see. I'll give you another example. A couple of years ago, I was invited to a state luncheon with the Indian Prime Minister Modi in Washington, D.C. While I was there, I had the privilege of having some girl talk with Indra Nooyi, who is the CEO of Pepsi. And Indra is a phenomenal woman. She's an amazing role model. And we started talking about work-life balance, and it's hard. It's hard to be on this path. And she looked at me and she said, don't give up. She said, do not stop. She said, whatever you do, don't stop. And those words, on my hardest days when I'm working and juggling my family, my work, my travel, those words really stayed with me. She's an inspiring role model to me. Role models are critical. The second thing we need are teams. My friend Anne Winblad, who's in the audience here somewhere, said it best on a panel a few years ago. Anne, are you here? There she is. Anne said, you need a team when you're starting a company, when you're raising funds, because guess what? Individuals don't scale, teams do. And I never forgot that. And Anne is someone else that I really look up to. And that's why, look, if you want your vision to become a reality, you have to let people in. You have to share, and you have to take their input, whether it's negative, whether it's positive, whether you want to hear it or not. It's only going to help you in the end. A few years ago, I had the honor of having my fundraising product, Root Square, it was profiled in Fast Company. And I remember out of all the questions that they asked me, one really stuck with me. They said, what would you do differently next time? And what I would do differently next time is I wouldn't try to do it alone. I would have the right team. I self-funded the first product. The next time around, I would go raise capital. But I was so I was so obsessive about innovating, I didn't want to hear no. So I just did what I thought was right. But that's not always the right answer. So make sure you have a good support system and a team around you. And then coming up to the third thing, access to capital. Investor boardrooms and offices have a new look and feel today. They are driven by technology tools. They're driven by crowdsourcing sites. They're driven by female-focused funds that are only out there to give money to these female entrepreneurs. So don't be scared to go raise money. Don't be scared to go out and say that, you know what, if one investor route is close to me, I can go down another path. The worst thing that can happen is someone will say no. So to recap, the three things that we need in order for women to go from thinking about entrepreneurship to becoming entrepreneurs: you need your team, you need mentors and role models, and you need access to capital, because access to capital opens up markets. In closing, I'll say again, my favorite saying, technology is the greatest equalizer of the 21st century. And I look forward to the day when there are just as many women in tech as men, when there are just as many women getting PhDs in science as men, and when there are just as many women CEOs in tech as men. And just like we are still waiting for our first female president, I look forward to the day that we have our female equivalent of Steve Jobs or Mark Zuckerberg. Thank you for having me.